Holy added accessories, Batman. Here's your look at the NECA Toys Batman the Classic TV Series Robin and Batgirl Batarang Replica 2-pack. NECA's DC prop replica line expands to include more items from the beloved 1966 Batman television series. This campy classic TV show brought the adventures of the dynamic duo to life with puns galore and plenty of Bat gadgets. Get your own screen-accurate replica of Robin's Batarang and Batgirl's Batarang in this prop replica 2-pack. Each measures 10 inches when open and folds in half. Attach the included cords and transform them into grappling hooks. Just before we begin, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA that provided the 1966 Batman TV series Robin and Batgirl Batarang replica. It is available right now over on their site for $45 for the pair. Having already looked, though, at the 66 series Batman Batarang, let's bring that in for comparisons. If you were to look at the two, Robin's and Batgirl's are going to be exactly the same to one another, so they haven't really done anything different in that department. But if you, though, were to compare one of them, say, with Batman's Batarang, there's a considerable size difference between the two. Like with Batman's Batarang, Robin's and Batgirl's do also come included with cords that can loop through the provided holes on the corners. Both of these look to be identical to one another, as well as the length. The cord is fairly strong, although I wouldn't make any promise that they would be able to hold you if you're scaling up the side of the wall. There is also as well a stopper. The knot on the end is, I suppose, the stopper to the stopper. That joke wasn't even funny the first time we said that. So it does prevent, of course, this from falling through the hole. Though when you're feeding this through, I'm just going to grab Batgirl's here for the example. When you take this, for example, you can obviously open them up. We'll talk obviously more about that in a moment. But you could feed this through the way I did this before by taking the stopper and feeding it through this way. The easier, honest way of doing it is you can also just take the part that doesn't have it and just feed it through that way and just continue to pull through the cord to eventually get to the end of the stopper. There we go. And that's going to obviously stay in place. That it's not going to go anywhere. Obviously, pulling it out would work the same way. You're just going to pull it from the top until eventually the cord pulls all the way through. Just in case anybody, I'm sure, was asking the last time we looked at the Batarang, boy, you're finding the hardest way to do this. I was finding the hardest way to do this. You obviously could do it the other way around. Pulling, though, the cords out, this will involve a little bit of unraveling, so bear with me here. We're just going to unravel all this. Again, I'm glad to see that they included the cord. When I have been displaying, though, the Adam West Batman Batarang, I really haven't added the cord, just because it was taking up a little bit of more space. I think, though, now that I'm looking at all three of the Batarangs, being that this is part of the 2-pack, might just end up displaying them because, honestly, though, what else am I going to do with the cord other than putting it back in the packaging? If you were to look at both of them, like I said, they do open up, and there's a hinge on the outside that then, obviously allows this to fold open. If you, though, look at the inside, there's a magnet right here, and there's a magnet right here that put the two together, and it's going to lock in place. I don't notice, though, with Robin's that if you're holding it, it seems to come loose a little more frequently than, say, Batman's. Batman's we can bring back in. Again, his opened up, and his seemed more like a stronger magnet. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that the Batarang was just a little bit bigger as well. But Batgirl's and Robin's are identical to one another, other than just really changing the color scheme. I do like, though, the metallic use of purples and blues that they've used for both examples. Batman's, obviously, when we were looking at that, didn't have as much metallic. It had more like a very dark bluish black. Unfortunately, though, as one of the things I did mention when we looked at the original 66 Batman Batarang, is one thing I will also mention when we look at the Robin and Batgirls, is that while it looks good to have them open up like this, there really isn't any real way to display this on the shelf. Unless you did make use of the hole. Of course, if you're not already feeding the cord through it, you could, in theory, put a hole, put a peg or a pin on the wall and just suspend the Batarang that way. I wish, though, that they had actually included display stands. Just, again, something like a little half circle with a little peg or prong that faced up like this, that you could just sit the Batarang onto it. I'm sure there's probably people out there that have 3D printed something similar along those lines. I would love to get my hands on that because, I mean, again, while it does look good, and if you fold them in like this, the flatness side on this, not to mention the points on the other end, they do a fine enough job of holding on their own if you fold them in like this. But honestly, though, unless you're having this, say, for example, on your utility belt, I'm sure most people would really like to be able to open these up and allow them to shine a little bit nicer. Again, I just sort of wish that they included like a little display stand, something that just could allow the Batarangs to be upright and open like this, similar to in the way of Batman's, because there's really no other way of displaying it. When we have, though, looked at the other Batarang examples, one from Batman Beyond and one from the 1989 movie, both of them, though they did have the vac plastic tray storage for them, they at least gave you a way of presenting and displaying them. if at the very least they could have included something similar to that, where they could have then given you, again, the option of displaying them upright. What you could also really do, though, is get yourself, I suppose, like a I don't know, like a little slope or something like that, and just sort of rest them that way. Or if you had a couple of little books, or for example, you could just lean them against it. But long-term plans, more professional-looking plans, I think should have been executed when it comes to displaying these. By the way, they're also printed there on the corners. It does say NECA and it does say 2023. So it's a fairly new release on both of these. NECA's also done other 66 Batman prop replicas. More importantly, they did the communicator radio, and they also did one for Batgirl. I'd love to get my hands on those. And I think they, in fact, did also a pair of bat cuffs. But again, like nice little replicas of the ones we got from the 66 series. If you had already collected, say, for example, the Batman Batarang, then the Robin and the also two-packed version of the Batgirl Batarang are nice little included additions to the 66 Batman gauntlets, or the gadgets, the Bat gadgets that Batman and Robin would have. Of course, it is nice that they also included one for Batgirl. I don't think in a case like this, considering that they are really using the exact same mold from Robin's to Batgirl's, it necessarily needed a standalone release where you bought them separately. Again, if you are interested, they are selling them right now over on NECA's site. And as it is right now, at the time of doing this review, they're selling for $45 for the set, and they're still in stock. If you are a big fan of the 60s Batman series, and already have your hands on Adam West's Batarang, definitely would like to get your hands on the Robins and Batgirls. It is available as of right now. While also being made of plastic, the plastic does feel like it's a decent quality. When I held both Robins and Batgirls, even though really both of them were lighter than Batman's, the plastic still felt like it had a decent weight to it. They didn't feel, quote, cheap. And also one thing I really like about them is the fact that they do fold in. Decent for cosplaying if you wanted to go about the convention floors, dressed either as Batman, Robin, or Batgirl for that matter. It's nice that there's a company at least out there that's producing replicas, so you don't have to try to make the ones yourself. Both of them are obviously using the identical same mold. Both of them are also using the exact same cords, other than really just the stopper on the cords being matching the colors of the purple and the blue, so you'll know right away which cord belongs to which. Yeah, I do. I like these. You know, again, for displaying them might be a little harder of a task, just because, again, like if you wanted to fold them in, not a problem. You fold them in, you can easily just rest them like I've got them resting right now. But to really show the way they, I feel, are rightfully belonging to be displayed, having them open becomes a little bit more of a problem, because then you have to find a way to prop them up. A display stand, as already mentioned in this review, could have really come in handy. Or again, you could also use the hole and suspend them from the wall that way. But I'd rather really have them on the shelf than hang them from the wall. What do you guys think of this set? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys already had the chance to pick up the 60s Batman series Robin and Batgirl prop replicas of their Batarangs? Let me know how you have them displayed if that's the case. Also, big thank you once again to the folks over at NECA that did come through and provide the sample of the Batman 66 series Batarangs for Robin and Batgirl. If you guys did enjoy this video, want to throw it a like. If you guys did want to stick around for more, that is. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure as well you turn on the bell notification. And the most important thing is that you're coming back regularly. If in the meantime, you have a little bit more time, you got a few hours to kill before you got to go to an appointment, you got to meet up with friends this afternoon, you want to check out other things I've looked at from NECA, well then, popping up at the very end of this video, not only will be playlists for Batman, but also as well other things I've looked at from NECA in the past, with many more to follow. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.